So this new video is about the cylinder gland drawing. Okay, and this drawing will take a couple of days to do because you have to start out with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You can get that from your instructor. And on the assignment itself, on the back side, I photocopied the border instructions, but a note for the 17 by 11 sheet. Okay, the way this works is that with a 17 by 11 or 11 by 17, I'm so sorry, you come in a 1/2 inch from each edge, okay, and you draw a thick border line, okay. That's the only difference. Everything else, like your drawn by box, the grade spot, the initial spot, your date, and your scale stay the same. The only thing else that elongates is this center box, which doesn't have a dimension left and right for that very reason. Okay, so as I filled that in, the scale, according to the instructions, is 9 inches equals 1 foot. That's going to come into play a lot when we start putting the actual dimensions on this paper. And then it's called cylinder gland, which is at the top of your paper. So after I completed my border, I measured the drawing space and found the halfway point. Okay, and I drew a very faint line all the way across. Then I measured a 1/2 inch in from the side here, and that's going to be our starting point right there. Okay, we're going to leave a good amount of space so that we could draw our circle. And this, according to the instructions, we're going to turn this into a section view. The whole thing is going to be a section view. And that way we can dimension, following our rules of dimension. We need to know some of these depths, but you're not allowed to dimension to hidden lines. So we're going to do this video on the drawing of the object, and I'll have a second video for the actual dimensioning information. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I noticed when I was looking at this is that when this photocopied, it elongated this circle. So what I want us to do is we're going to take all of our measurements along the horizontal, okay, along this line and this line for our diameters and our depths. Okay. It's important that we always take a moment to dimension the project. I mean, to read the instructions for the project. It says completely dimension the casting below, which is shown at half size. Okay, so that means we're going to double the size that we have here and draw it bigger. And then we're going to take our measurements directly from the drawing and scale the dimensions that we're writing to 9 inches equals a foot. Okay, but the biggest thing that we need to know right now is that this is shown at half size. So that means whatever radius we take, we're going to have to double it. Well, there's an easy workaround on that one. Okay, so I have my compass. I know usually when I'm just taking direct measurements, I use my divider, but man, I'm going to work smarter, not harder today. There's too much to do. So I am going to to double a radius that equals the diameter. So I'm going to take my dimension from one end of the circle to the other with my compass, and that's me doubling that radius. So now I can use that as my new radius. And this is the only one where I'm going to do this. I found my 1/2 inch mark, and I put my compass lead on that end, and then I'm going to find the center point here, stab down, and then make my circle. Now, to get a nice dark object line type circle, I'm going to press down. I might even swirl a couple times. Keep in mind, the best way to control your compass is to tilt it a little bit in the direction that you're twirling and control it from here. If you're holding onto the legs and turning, it's going to change that measurement. Okay, so the next circle that we're ready for, this one is a center line circle, okay, that we're using as the center point for our smaller circles. So I'm just going to draw this one really light as a construction line for now, and then I can go back in and darken it after I've drawn my smaller circles. Okay. Oh, next up is the hidden line. This one takes a little time and patience, but it can be done with a compass. Okay, so I'm just copying that dimension right there. I'm going to start with the construction line. It's always good to see where I'm going, and then try to keep them small. These are a little bit big, but since we're using a compass and it's harder to control like this, I don't mind slightly larger dashes. Just don't go crazy. Try your best to keep them close to even. I don't want you freehanding this with a pencil. You need to use your compass, okay? Trying to keep these marks going in that same circle. A pencil is too easy to screw up with. A quick reminder, if you need to sharpen your compass lead, the sharpening pads are up by my front desk where I'm doing my drawing right now. If you break your compass lead, there's more compass lead also up at the desk. If you have sharp compass lead, your drawings are going to be so much nicer, and you're going to realize you have a lot more control over your drawing. This bottom quadrant's the hardest for me because I'm right-handed. But I can do it. I can do hard things. And so can you. Just remember, it's not a race to be first, it's about precision. So take your time. There we go. Whew. That was the one I was stressing about. All right, the next circle in. Oh, thank goodness it's an actual object line circle. There we go. So that little trick of using the diameter of my drawing to make my radius for my compass, that thing is such a time saver. Yeah. Okay, keep it on. Now, I did a practice swipe and I realized that I did not have my compass lead in the right spot. There we go. It's always good to take a practice swipe. Now, if you do not get finished with this entire drawing today, then do not fold the paper in half. Once you fold it in half, it'll never lay completely flat again. In the classroom, each class has a designated drawer for design processes for your tall drawings. Okay, put them flat in your drawer. Make sure your name is on it. Okay, definitely that should always be your first inclination, is put your name on things as soon as you get it. Okay, so I've got all my big circles. I need to create my center line right here, but I'm going to do it construction weight to start with. And that way I'm going to draw my smaller circles first, and then I'll know how to put these dashes in here. Okay, so small circles. The smaller the circle is, the more difficult it is to have control. So again, I stress to you to just try to be patient and tilt your compass in the direction that you tend to twirl. So I tend to twirl clockwise, so I tilt my compass in that direction. This drawing looks like it'll take a long time to do, but once you get the hang of your compass and how to get the measurements, it really takes very little time whatsoever. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Okay, come through with my eraser. It does happen, even to those of us who have been practicing for years. I think right here is my problem. My compass lead is too short. I'm going to elongate that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to double check that I still have the same measurement on my compass. Now let's try that again. There we go. More control. All right. So back to this circle that we're going to use as our center line. Okay. You remember that the center marks for circles is a small dash with lines that radiate out. Okay, so for this, in the centers, we're going to do a small dash. I know I'm holding on to the second leg, but I am not trusting in myself right now. There we go. So I did leave a center line there also. Just to indicate that this circle that we're looking at is a center line kind of a circle. It's not actually an object line. Well, I goofed that up. Mistakes happen, even for people who've done it for a while, so don't let yourself get all upset about it. We just have our eraser shield and our eraser to help us whenever we do something silly like that. Put my dash there, so I'm going to put right here and right there. Sometimes I feel like I waste time worrying about some mistake that I've made versus just carrying on and getting the work done. Because we do all of our work in pencil, I just remind myself that I can always erase some mistakes. Okay, this thing is my best friend. So next I'm going to finish my center lines for my circles. I'm having a whole slew of mistakes today, but that's okay. It happens. Okay, for center lines, you should be using your 2H pencil. And remember that center lines extend out beyond the perimeter of your circle. I'm just kind of putting my dash in on all 3 of those circles first. Okay, the last bit that I need to point out is this line on the drawing. This is the only time we're going to use a vertical dimension, because all the dimensions that we need for this drawing over here for vertical will be transferred directly over from the circles you've drawn. So I'm going to use my dividers on this, double check that it's not moving, and since I'm doubling the size, I'm going to walk my dividers 1, 2. Do a tiny little mark. And bring that across. Okay. This video is getting long, so I'm going to stop. I'm going to make a second video to draw. This is a section view, and then how about a third for dimensioning? That way you don't have too long of videos. Okay, thank you.